First contact in the frost. The wind howled across Europa's icy surface as 16-year-old Zane Patterson adjusted his thermal suit's settings. The temperature readout showed -160 degrees Celsius. Just another balmy day on Jupiter's frozen moon. He'd snuck out of Research Station Omega-7 during the facility's night cycle, something he'd done dozens of times before. The difference was that tonight, the aurora above Jupiter painted the ice sheets in waves of green and purple, creating the perfect conditions for studying bioluminescent ice crystals. Zane had modified his suit's sensors to detect trace amounts of biological activity, a project he'd been working on secretly for months. His parents, both senior researchers at the station, would probably ground him until he was 30 if they knew he was out here alone. But he couldn't help himself. The recent readings from this sector were unlike anything he had ever seen. The caves and crevices of Europa had already yielded simple microbial life, but Zane was convinced there was more. His modified scanner picked up faint energy signatures that didn't match known patterns. He followed the readings toward a massive ice ridge that rose like a frozen wave against the star-filled sky. The first sign that tonight was different came when his scanner started emitting a high-pitched whine. The energy readings were off the charts, centered on a deep crevasse ahead. Zane activated his suit's ice anchors and carefully approached the edge. His helmet lights illuminated something that made him gasp, crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, forming patterns too regular to be natural. As he stood transfixed, a section of ice beneath him cracked. Zane scrambled backward, but not fast enough. The ledge gave way, sending him sliding down into the crevasse. His training kicked in. He activated his emergency brakes and deployed his backup tether. He came to a stop about 30 meters down, suspended in a chamber that glowed with an ethereal blue light. That's when he saw it. At first, he thought it was part of the ice formation, but then it moved. A creature at least 3 meters long unfurled what looked like crystalline wings. Its body was composed of translucent segments that caught and reflected light in impossible ways. But what captured Zane's attention were its eyes. 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, each one shifting through colors like living opals. The creature was beautiful, but clearly injured. Dark veins ran through its crystalline body, spreading from what appeared to be wounds caused by exposure to mineral deposits that had pierced its outer layer. It recoiled when it saw him, emitting a sound that resonated through Zane's suit and made his teeth ache. "It's okay," Zane said automatically, even though he knew the creature couldn't understand him. He raised his hand slowly, trying to appear non-threatening while his mind raced. The creature's biology seemed to be based on living crystal structures, something theoretical xenobiologists had speculated about but never confirmed. The creature made another sound, this one weaker. The dark veins were spreading. Zane realized he was watching it die. His suit's analysis suggested the mineral deposits were releasing compounds toxic to the creature's crystalline matrix. Without thinking about the consequences, he reached for his sample collection kit. He had basic minerals that might help neutralize the toxins, but using them would mean exposing himself to whatever defense mechanisms the creature might have. "I want to help," he said softly, beginning to remove the minerals from his kit. "Please let me help you." The creature's eyes fixed on him, all 3 shifting to a deep blue color. It made no move to attack as Zane slowly approached. His hands trembled as he prepared the first application of neutralizing minerals. Everything he'd ever dreamed of, proving the existence of complex life on Europa, making first contact, advancing xenobiology, was happening in this moment. But more than that, he couldn't bear to watch this magnificent being suffer. As he worked to save the creature's life, Zane had no way of knowing that this encounter would change not only his future, but the relationship between 2 species. In the depths of Europa's ice, as Jupiter's light painted the crystal chambers in shifting colors, a bond began to form that would bridge worlds. The creature's initial distrust gradually gave way to what Zane could only interpret as curiosity. As he applied the neutralizing compounds, the dark veins began to recede. The creature's crystalline structure started to pulse with a stronger light, and it extended one wing-like appendage toward him. When it touched his suit, Zane's mind filled with images and sensations. Ice caves deeper than any human had explored, vast chambers filled with living crystal formations, and a sense of ancient knowledge preserved in the heart of Europa. He realized with startling clarity that he hadn't just found a creature. He'd found a sentinel, a guardian of secrets buried in Europa's depths. And now, for better or worse, their fates were intertwined. Trust through adversity. The next 12 hours tested everything Zane thought he knew about xenobiology. The crystalline being, which he'd started calling Kyrex after interpreting some of its resonant frequencies, was recovering, but keeping it hidden was becoming increasingly difficult. He'd managed to help Kyrex into a larger ice cavern away from the toxic mineral deposits, converting an abandoned research storage unit into a makeshift sanctuary. Zane's wrist computer chimed with another message from his parents that made 15 missed calls since his unauthorized excursion. He knew he should respond, but how could he explain this? The standard protocol for discovering complex alien life involved immediate quarantine, extensive testing, and probably dissection. The thought made him shudder as he watched Kyrex's crystalline form pulse with waves of cobalt and azure. "They're not bad people," Zane said aloud, continuing his habit of talking to Kyrex. "But they're scientists first. They wouldn't understand that you're—" He trailed off as Kyrex extended one of its wing-like appendages, touching his suit again. Images flooded his mind. Vast libraries encoded in crystal matrices, generations of Kyrex's kind standing guard over knowledge accumulated across millennia. But there was something else now. A warning. Danger approaching from above. Seconds later, Zane's suit sensors picked up multiple signals. Search parties. They'd finally tracked his location. His heart raced as he heard voices echoing through the ice tunnels. Leading them was Dr. Vivian Nash, the station's head of security and xenological defense. "Zine Patterson." Dr. Nash's voice boomed through the cavern. "We detected extreme biometric anomalies from your suit. Come out immediately." "That's a direct order." Kyrex's body tensed, its crystalline segments shifting into what Zane recognized as a defensive position. The creature's 3 eyes had turned a deep crimson. Through their strange connection, Zane felt waves of both fear and determination. Kyrex was willing to fight if necessary, but that would only prove the humans right about it being dangerous. "Trust me," Zane whispered, stepping between Kyrex and the approaching search party. "Please, I won't let them hurt you." The security team emerged from the tunnel, their lights sweeping the cavern. Dr. Nash's expression shifted from concern to astonishment as she took in the scene. Behind her, Zane's parents pushed forward, their faces pale with worry and awe. "Step away from it, Zane," his mother said, her voice trembling. "We don't know what it's capable of." "I know exactly what Kyrex is capable of," Zane replied, standing his ground. "It's intelligent, peaceful, and injured. I've been helping it recover from toxic mineral exposure. More importantly, it's a sentinel, a guardian of knowledge that could change everything we think we know about life in our solar system." Dr. Nash raised her stun weapon. "That's a Class 1 xenological encounter. The protocols are clear." "The protocols are wrong," Zane interrupted. As if responding to his emotion, Kyrex's crystalline body began to emit a soft, haunting melody, a complex series of harmonics that made everyone in the cavern pause. Through their connection, Zane understood. Kyrex was trying to communicate directly. The crystal formations around them began to resonate with the song, creating patterns of light and sound that danced across the ice. Images formed in the air, holographic projections showing the history of Kyrex's people, their mission to preserve knowledge, their peaceful cooperation with other species across the galaxy. Zane's father stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overtaking his fear. "Incredible. It's using crystalline harmonics to generate 4-dimensional information packets. This isn't just communication. It's an entire language based on resonance patterns. But Dr. Nash wasn't convinced. It could be a defense mechanism, a way to disorient us before attacking. We need to contain it, study it properly. If you try to contain Kyrex, you'll destroy any chance of learning from its people, Zane argued. They've been here all along, deep within Europa, guarding an archive of knowledge that spans galaxies. They could have revealed themselves at any time, could have stopped our exploration if they wanted to. Instead, they watched and waited, hoping to find humans who would understand. Through their connection, Kyrex shared another vision, this one of cooperation between humans and the crystal beings, of knowledge freely shared, of mysteries solved together. The images were so powerful that Zane felt tears freezing on his cheeks inside his helmet. His mother stepped forward, placing a hand on Dr. Nash's weapon. "Lower it, Vivian. Look at what's happening here. My son isn't just defending an alien creature. He's facilitating first contact. Real, peaceful first contact." The tension in the cavern remained high as Dr. Nash slowly lowered her weapon. Kyrex's song shifted, becoming softer, almost hopeful. The crystalline being moved forward slightly, extending its wing-like appendage toward the gathered humans in the same gesture of trust it had shown Zane. "It wants to share its knowledge," Zane explained, "but only if we prove we can be trusted. What happens next will determine humanity's relationship with an ancient, peaceful species that could help us understand the universe in ways we never imagined." As the humans and the Crystal Sentinel regarded each other in the glowing ice cavern, Zane realized that this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be protecting Kyrex while convincing both sides that cooperation was possible. Above them, Jupiter's aurora painted the ice in shifting colors, as if nature itself was witnessing this historic moment when two vastly different species took their first tentative steps toward understanding. Escape through the ice. The temporary peace in the ice cavern, shattered when Station Director Reed's voice crackled through everyone's comm systems. Security breach in Section 7. Unknown energy signatures detected. All personnel initiate emergency containment protocols immediately. Dr. Nash's expression hardened. "You don't understand what you've done, Zane. The corporate board has been notified. They're sending a specialized containment unit. This isn't about research anymore. It's about planetary security." Zane felt Kyrex's panic through their connection before the crystalline being's body flared with brilliant light. Images flooded his mind. Vast networks of ice tunnels, hidden chambers, and something else, a sense of urgent purpose. There was more at stake than just Kyrex's freedom. "Run," Zane shouted as Kyrex unleashed a harmonic pulse that temporarily overloaded their suit's systems. In the confusion, he grabbed his emergency pack and followed Kyrex deeper into the tunnel network. Behind them, he heard Dr. Nash shouting orders and his parents calling his name. The ice tunnels became a blur of crystalline reflections and deep shadows as they descended. Kyrex moved with surprising speed, its crystalline body adapting to the terrain. Through their mental link, Zane understood that the Sentinel was leading them to something important, something that had to be protected at all costs. "Warning, suit oxygen at 75%, his computer announced. Zane tried to ignore the growing fear in his chest. They were going deeper than any human had ever explored, beyond the mapped sections of Europa's crust. Kyrex suddenly stopped, its three eyes pulsing with urgent colors. Above them, they heard the echoes of pursuit. The security team had recovered and was following their trail. But that wasn't what had alarmed the Crystal Sentinel. The ice around them had begun to vibrate in an unsettling way. Through their connection, Zane received a stark warning. They weren't alone in these depths. Europa's underground oceans harbored other life forms, some of them far less peaceful than Kyrex's people. As if confirming this fear, a low rumble echoed through the tunnels. "What are those?" Zane whispered as bioluminescent shapes moved through the ice walls around them. The creatures resembled massive jellyfish, but their bodies seemed to phase through solid ice as if it were water. Kyrex's response filled his mind with images of ancient predators that had evolved in Europa's unique environment, hunters that could shift between solid and liquid states. They pressed against a crystal formation as one of the creatures drifted past their hiding spot. Zane held his breath, though he knew these beings probably didn't hunt by sound. Through the ice, he could see the search team's lights growing closer. They were trapped between two deadly threats. Kyrex's body began to pulse with a complex pattern of lights. At first, Zane thought it was showing fear, but then he understood. The sentinel was communicating with the ice itself. The crystal formations around them responded, creating a network of resonant frequencies that the phase-shifting predators seemed to avoid. "You're creating a safe passage," Zane realized aloud. Kyrex's response carried both confirmation and urgency. They had to move quickly. The harmonic barrier wouldn't last long. They pressed forward through twisting tunnels that seemed to spiral endlessly downward. Zane's suit computer continued its warnings about oxygen levels, but they couldn't stop. The security team's voices grew fainter, but the danger from Europa's native predators remained ever-present. Warning: suit oxygen at 50%. Ascent to safe depth recommended. Zane checked his reserves. "Kyrex, I don't know how much further I can go." The crystal sentinel turned to him, its eyes shifting through patterns he'd never seen before. Through their connection, he received not just images but emotions, concern, determination, and something like affection. Kyrex had come to care for him just as he had for it. The sentinel extended one of its crystalline appendages, touching Zane's suit. Energy flowed between them, and suddenly his suit's readings stabilized. Somehow, Kyrex was helping to recycle his oxygen supply more efficiently. The alien technology that powered the sentinel's crystalline form was far beyond anything humans had developed. Their moment of cooperation was interrupted by a new sound, a deep, rhythmic pulsing that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Kyrex's reaction was immediate and intense. Through their link, Zane saw images of an ancient chamber, a vast archive of knowledge stored in living crystal matrices, and a sense of grave danger. "That's what you're protecting, isn't it?" Zane asked. "Not just yourself, but something much bigger." The confirmation he received filled him with awe and determination. Whatever lay ahead in those depths, whatever secrets Kyrex's people had been guarding for millennia, he was now part of that mission. They reached a vertical shaft that seemed to descend forever into Europa's depths. Kyrex's body began to change, its crystalline segments rearranging themselves. Through their connection, Zane received clear instructions. "Hold on. You can't be serious," he said, looking down into the abyss. But the sound of pursuit was growing closer again, and the phase-shifting predators were testing Kyrex's harmonic barriers. They had no choice. Zane grabbed onto Kyrex's transformed body as the sentinel launched them into the shaft. They fell through layers of ancient ice, passing through caves and chambers that no human had ever seen. Bioluminescent organisms created trails of light around them, and occasionally they caught glimpses of massive shapes moving in the ice, other creatures that called Europa's depths home. As they descended, Zane realized that everything he believed about life in the solar system was about to change. Through their shared connection, he felt Kyrex's growing anticipation. They were nearing something important, something that would change both their worlds forever. The shaft finally opened into a vast chamber, and what Zane saw there made him forget all about the dangers pursuing them. In the blue-tinged darkness of Europa's depths, an ancient city of living crystal stretched out before them, its spires and archways pulsing with their own inner light. This was what Kyrex and its kind had been protecting, a legacy of knowledge and culture that predated human civilization by eons. "It's beautiful," Zane whispered, his voice filled with wonder. Through their connection, Kyrex shared his appreciation, but also his concern. The archive was in danger, and not just from the humans pursuing them. Something was wrong with the very foundations of this crystal city, and they were running out of time to save it. The hidden archive. The crystal city pulsed with fading light, like a heartbeat growing weaker. As Zane and Kirex moved through its ethereal streets, the true scale of the crisis became clear. Fracture lines ran through many of the crystalline structures, their once brilliant light now dimmed to a faint glow. Through their mental link, Kirex shared the devastating truth. The archive was dying. The same mineral contamination that had wounded Kirex was slowly seeping into the foundation of the city, corrupting the living crystal matrices that stored countless millennia of knowledge. "There has to be a way to save it," Zane said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. Kirex led him to what appeared to be a central spire, a towering structure that sparkled despite the decay around it. As they approached, patterns of light danced across its surface, responding to Kirex's presence. Suddenly, the air filled with holographic projections, three-dimensional images showing the history of not just Europa, but dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. Zane watched in awe as he saw scenes from worlds humans had never imagined, scientific discoveries that could revolutionize everything from medicine to space travel. "This is incredible," he breathed. "All this knowledge. This is why your people chose to become guardians." Through their connection, Kirex confirmed, but also shared a deeper truth. The crystal beings hadn't just chosen to protect this knowledge. They had evolved specifically for this purpose, transforming their entire species into living archives. Their revelation was interrupted by distant sounds echoing through the crystal streets. The security team had found their way down. But there was something else, something that made Kirex's crystalline form vibrate with alarm. The phase-shifting predators were also closing in, drawn by the archive's weakening energy field. Zane's suit computer flickered to life, displaying readings from the surrounding crystal structures. "The mineral contamination is spreading faster than we thought," he realized, studying the data. "The city's defensive systems are failing. That's why the predators can get so close now." Through their link, Kirex shared a desperate plan. The archive could be saved, but it would require combining human technology with the crystal being's ancient knowledge. The risk was enormous. If they failed, they could accelerate the archive's destruction, but doing nothing meant watching it die slowly. "What do you need me to do?" Zane asked without hesitation. Kirex's response came as a series of technical specifications flowing directly into his mind. He began pulling equipment from his pack: sample collection tools, mineral analyzers, and most importantly, his modified scanner that had first led him to Kirex. Working together, they began to repurpose Zane's equipment. His scanner, designed to detect biological activity, could be modified to identify and isolate the corrupted crystal sections. Kirex's ability to manipulate crystal formations would allow them to contain the spread of contamination. As they worked, the first of the phase-shifting predators emerged through the walls of the chamber. The creatures seemed different here, more aggressive, drawn by the archive's failing energy. Above, lights from the search team's suits began to illuminate the crystal spires. "We need more time," Zane muttered, his hands flying over his equipment. Through their connection, he felt Kirex's determination. The Sentinel's body began to pulse with intense light, creating a harmonic barrier around them. It would hold off both threats, but maintaining it would drain Kirex's energy quickly. Dr. Nash's voice echoed through the chamber. "This is your last warning, Zane. Stand down and step away from the alien entity." But Zane barely heard her. He was focused entirely on the complex procedure before him, guided by Kirex's ancient knowledge. His modified scanner hummed to life, now calibrated to the precise frequency of the crystal matrices. Kirex's body resonated in harmony with the device, creating a cascade effect through the surrounding structures. Slowly, the contaminated sections began to illuminate, glowing with a sickly purple light. "There," Zane said, pointing to a pattern emerging in the corruption. "It's spreading from these focal points, if we can isolate them." Through their link, Kirex completed his thought. The Sentinel's crystalline form began to shift, extending tendrils of pure energy into the affected areas. The air filled with harmonic frequencies as Kyrex channeled power through Zane's modified equipment. The corrupted crystals began to resonate, their structure changing at the molecular level. Zane watched in amazement as the purple glow slowly transformed back to the pure blue light of healthy crystal. But the process was taking its toll on Kyrex. The Sentinel's barrier was weakening, and the threats on both sides were closing in. Through their connection, Zane felt Kyrex's energy fading. The crystal being was putting everything it had into saving the archive, even at the cost of its own existence. "No," Zane said firmly, understanding Kyrex's intention. "We're not trading your life for this. There has to be another way." His mind raced, combining what he knew of xenobiology with the knowledge Kyrex had shared. The answer came to him in a flash of inspiration. He quickly recalibrated his scanner, reversing its polarity. Instead of just identifying corruption, it could now channel energy back into the crystal matrices. "Let me help carry the load," he told Kyrex. "We do this together." The Sentinel's three eyes fixed on him, swirling with colors that expressed both concern and gratitude. As the security team and the phase-shifting predators closed in from both sides, human and crystal being joined their efforts in one final attempt to save the archive of ages. Energy flowed between them, through them, and into the dying crystal city. The corrupted sections began to heal faster as Zane's technology amplified Kyrex's natural abilities. The chamber filled with brilliant light as ancient knowledge was preserved through the combination of two very different kinds of intelligence. But their time was running out. The security team was almost upon them, and the predators had begun to breach Kyrex's weakening barrier. Everything would depend on the next few moments, and on whether humans could recognize the importance of what they had discovered here in Europa's depths. Two worlds, one bond. The crystal city blazed with renewed energy, its spires throwing rainbow light across the vast chamber. The combined power of Zane's technology and Kyrex's abilities had created something unprecedented, a bridge between human ingenuity and ancient crystal wisdom. But as the security team finally reached their position, weapons raised, the real challenge began. Dr. Nash stepped forward, her suit lights illuminating the spectacular scene before her. "What in heaven's name?" she breathed, momentarily forgetting protocol as she took in the crystal city. "Hold your fire." Zane's father pushed through the security team, his mother right behind him. "Look at what they've done. They're not destroying anything, they're saving it." Through their connection, Zane felt Kyrex's energy stabilizing. The Sentinel was no longer in danger of burning out, but maintaining the city's restored matrix would require ongoing effort. The phase-shifting predators, sensing the renewed strength of the archive's defenses, began to retreat into the ice walls. "This archive contains the accumulated knowledge of dozens of civilizations," Zane explained, his voice carrying clear authority despite his youth. "The crystal beings aren't just aliens we happen to find. They're guardians of a galactic library, and now they're offering to share it with us." On cue, Kyrex activated the archive's display systems. The chamber filled with holographic images, clean energy systems that could power cities without pollution, medical techniques that could cure diseases humans thought incurable, and transportation technology that could revolutionize space travel. "This is just a fraction of what they're willing to share," Zane continued. "But it has to be done right, with respect, cooperation, and understanding." Through their link, Kyrex added its own testimony, projecting memories of other civilizations that had benefited from peaceful exchange with the crystal beings. Dr. Nash lowered her weapon slowly, her scientist's curiosity overtaking her security training. "The corporate board won't just accept this. They'll want to study it, control it. Then we make them understand what's at stake." Zane's mother interrupted. She stepped forward, her eyes reflecting the crystal city's light. "This isn't just about corporate profits or scientific advancement. This is first contact done right. A chance to learn from a civilization that values knowledge enough to evolve their entire species into its guardians." The security team's weapons lowered one by one as Kyrex continued its display. The crystal being showed them visions of possibility. Human researchers working alongside Crystal Guardians, a joint mission to protect and expand the archive, and the beginning of humanity's participation in a much larger galactic community. It won't be easy, Zane acknowledged. There will be those who fear this, who want to exploit it. But Kyrex's people have faced this before. They've developed ways to share knowledge safely, to test the readiness of other civilizations. Through their connection, he felt Kyrex's approval. The Sentinel had chosen well in trusting him. Dr. Nash faced her team. "Stand down," she ordered finally. "Download everything you're seeing. The board needs to understand exactly what we're dealing with here." She turned to Zane. "You and your friend have put us in an unprecedented situation. But maybe that's exactly what humanity needs right now." Over the next few hours, as Jupiter's bulk turned slowly above their deep chamber, humans and crystal beings began the delicate process of building trust. Kyrex taught them how to properly document the archive's contents, while Zane helped translate the crystal being's complex harmonic language into terms humans could understand. The phase-shifting predators, perhaps sensing the historic nature of what was occurring, gathered to watch from within the ice walls. These ancient residents of Europa's depths seemed to recognize that their world was changing, that the Crystal City would now have new protectors to help guard its precious knowledge. Zane's parents set up research equipment, their excitement barely contained as they studied the crystal technology. Through Kyrex, they learned that the archive contained records of Europa's own ecosystem, including the phase shifters and countless other undiscovered species. This knowledge would help humans coexist with, rather than endanger, Europa's native life. As the initial frenzy of discovery settled into focused research, Zane found a quiet moment with Kyrex. "Thank you for trusting me," he said softly. "For showing me that there's so much more to the universe than we ever imagined." The Sentinel's response flowed through their connection. Gratitude, affection, and a sense of rightness about what had occurred. Kyrex had recognized something in Zane that matched the crystal being's own dedication to knowledge and understanding. Their friendship had opened a door that would benefit both their peoples. The Crystal City hummed with renewed purpose, its light steady and strong. In its gleaming spires, humans began to set up a permanent research station, one that would work in harmony with the Crystal Guardians. It would take time to convince Earth's governments and corporations to approach this discovery with appropriate reverence, but the process had begun. "You know," Zane told Kyrex as they watched humans and crystal beings working together, "when I snuck out that night to look for bioluminescent crystals, I never imagined I'd help save an ancient alien archive." The Sentinel's amused response rippled through his mind, along with a gentle reminder. Their work was just beginning. Above them, Europa's ice sheets continued their eternal dance, now hiding an even greater secret, not just of alien life, but of a partnership that would change the course of human history. In the depths of this frozen moon, two very different species had found common ground in their shared love of knowledge and discovery. The Crystal City's light pulsed like a heartbeat, strong and sure, as humanity took its first steps into a larger universe, not through conquest or fear, but through friendship, trust, and understanding. Zane and Kyrex stood together, guardians of a new age of exploration and cooperation, their unlikely bond a testament to the power of reaching across the cosmic divide to forge connections that would last for generations to come.